Jaya Bhagavata Jaya Bhagavata Jaya Bhagavata Jaya Bhagavata Jaya 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 Bhagavata Paramahansa Virvajikacharya Shatashat Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Virvajikacharya Shatashat Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Kanchara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, everyone. What's your name again? Valentina. Oh, nice to meet you. Where are you visiting from? Oh, welcome. Welcome to the club. The Russian club. I'm the odd one out. Hare Krishna to everyone online. Thanks for joining. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, texts. Oh, sorry, hang on, I have to plug in the mic. 15, 17. Right? We're on 15, 17. Okay. I'll read 15 and 16 Sanskrit, and then we can repeat 17. Do you have your phone? Or you don't? You don't prefer to look it up? Okay, that's great. Balam tag terjamertinai kilanam shivam astuvaha parkshi yesha varakanya patnitve pratigrihitam ityam mancha vararoham kanyam apsala sinyuta samurajaya yodatva te dharmeno vayemire Tivyastasya samam bhava daksha pracheta sakila yasya praja pisargena loka apuritastrayaha. Tivyastasya samam bhava daksha pracheta sakila yasya praja visargena loka apuritastrayaha. Does anybody online want to repeat text 17?
Devyastasya samabhavat daksha prachetasa kila yasya praja visargena loka apuritas trayaha.
Anybody else? Online.
Devyastasyam samabhavad daksya prache tasya kila yasya praja visarjena loka apuritas trayaha.
Krishna, thank you. We missed seeing you yesterday at the trip. Hopefully we get to see you soon in person. But happy to have you online as well. Okay, word for word. Tavia. From all the prachetas. From all the prachetas. Tasyam. In her. Samabhavat. Was generated. Daksha, Daksha, the expert in begetting children. Prachetasaha, the son of the Prachetas. Kila, indeed. Yasya, of whom. Praja Visargena, by the generation of living entities. Loka, the world. Apurita, fill. Traya, three. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation I'll go back to text 15. There is no need to burn these poor trees any longer. Let whatever trees still remain be happy. Indeed, you should also be happy. Now here is a beautiful, well-qualified girl named Marisha, who was raised by the trees as their daughter. You may accept this beautiful girl as your wife. Shukadev Goswami continued, My dear king, after thus pacifying the Prachetas, Soma, the king of the moon, gave them the beautiful girl born of Pramlocha Apsara. The Prachetas all received Pramlocha's daughter, who had high, very beautiful hips, and married her according to the religious system. Text 17. In the womb of that girl, the Prachetas all begot a son named Daksha, who filled the three worlds with living entities. Purport. Daksha was first born during the reign of Swayambhuva Manu, but because of offending Lord Shiva, he was punished by having the head of a goat substituted for his own head. Thus insulted, he had to give up that body, and in the sixth Manvantar, called the Chakshusha Manvantar, he was born of the womb of Marisha as Daksha. In this connection, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes this verse, Chakshushe tvantare prapte praksarge kala vidrute yasasarja praja isha sadaksho daiva choditaha. His previous body had been destroyed, but he, the same Daksha, inspired by the supreme will, created all the desired living entities in the Chakshusha Manvantar. Thus Daksha regained his previous opulence and again begot thousands and millions of children to fill the three worlds. Om Gyana Taranandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshar Unmilitan Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Just a forewarning. If I'm, I wouldn't even say scattered. If I'm a little bit slower than usual, it's because I'm running on little sleep. We went to the Philadelphia Rath Yatra yesterday, which was very nice, and very sweet, amazing kirtans, and got to run into a lot of very sweet devotees as well. And now we're here in Bhagavatam class, so we'll make the most of it. So, I was just remembering a lecture I had heard about this pastime, or just regarding Daksha and his getting the head of a goat. That it's like, I mean, also in the purport, Prabhupada's making this point that Daksha's previous body had been destroyed. Well, that he's quoting, Prabhupada's quoting from the verse in the fourth canto that Daksha's previous body had been destroyed, so he got the head of a goat. But it's the same Daksha. So even though the head is completely different, it's still the same Daksha, which is like a complete challenge to our materialistic conception, or the predominating conception in today's world, that we are, our mind, our brain, consciousness comes from the brain actually. But yeah, Daksha's getting a completely different, upper half, but still he's the same Daksha and can remember what, what he had done to warrant getting a goat's head. So anyway, I just thought that was a really interesting point. Like I remember hearing David Maurice Raj give like a whole lecture based on just this point of how Daksha got a goat's head and yeah, just how this conception in the Bhagavatam that consciousness is a non-material, so it doesn't just spring forth from the brain. He gave a whole lecture on that just based on this point of Daksha getting a goat's head. So anyway, um, yeah, this is quite an interesting pastime and one of those pastimes that perhaps we could read from the Bhagavatam and it sounds like, okay, this is really getting out there. This is really like sounding mythological, um, about the trees having to be burnt to ashes, and then what does he say? That one, just going back to who's speaking. Anyway, that then the Prachetas get this beautiful, well-qualified girl named Marisha, who was raised by trees as their daughter. Like, yeah, it sounds pretty fantastic. And the Bhagavatam is always challenging our conceptions, our what we know from our very, very tiny experience and very tiny sense perception. But, think about all that we hear about from NASA about the universe and outer space, or from scientists about the deep dark corners of the ocean. Like if you even see a picture of like a fish, I think they just discovered some new fish at like the bottom of the Mariana Trench or something like that, and it looks so crazy. Like it's something you couldn't even dream up and draw practically. So there's so much actually, yeah, just beyond our conception and outside the realm of our experience that we have to be a little bit humble and accept that, oh, maybe others have superior knowledge than me. And we accept that so frequently, actually, based on with whenever it comes to material knowledge. Even like, yeah, we put our faith, we were talking a little bit about cars yesterday because Vadim, we were driving the Lightning and he's explaining to Yasmin and I how all the features and how it works. And then we saw one of those like Tesla trucks. It looks like a Mars vehicle, Mars rover thing. Um, and we don't know how that, like, we don't know anything about how it works, why it looks like that, um, how it runs, anything, how it does like, even the lightning, how it does the hands-free thing, like keeps you in the lane. So, yeah, we don't understand how those things work. Like we could not replicate it, but we have faith. I mean, we get in the car and we're like, we're gonna get to our destination. We're going to Raha Yatra, and don't even think about like, um, yeah, that anything could go wrong. And I was just reflecting on this yesterday, actually, in the car, just while we were driving, how how precarious our situation is actually in this material world, like the drop of water on the leaf. Like if it even flutters a little bit, that drop just can completely fall off the leaf, and then boom, death can come like that. And we're just driving along and I'm like, what if this car just like blew up right now? Or like a deer just came out and, jumped out off the side of the road. Or, I mean, stuff like this happens actually all the time, especially the deer thing um, yeah, in Pennsylvania. But I was just thinking about how Maya is like, we get all wrapped up in like this cozy, warm, snuggy blanket of Maya that makes us feel like, oh, death is definitely not around the corner. Like, you, we just live every day essentially like we're yeah, just it's just going to go on and on and on forever, and we can just keep making plans for how to enjoy, and how am I going to make plans now to enjoy in the future, even if it's later that day. We're just constantly making so many plans for our own enjoyment, which is crazy because that's actually that whole function of making plans for enjoyment is meant for us to apply to making plans for Krishna's enjoyment, actually. So this is the perverted reflection that, you know, in the spiritual world, think about how much in the course of a day, at least myself, I don't know about anybody else, but think about how much time we spend actually like contemplating or somehow or other making plans, even if they're just like fantasy plans in our head. Like, um, by that I mean, if we're making plans in our head, none of them are really like manifest yet, but some things are more, it feels like we have a bit more control over, or a bit more predictable, like thinking, okay, what am I gonna cook for myself later today or something like that. That seems like more possible that, okay, that could happen. But even we can make so many plans in our head for enjoyment that is, yeah, just we know it's a fantasy whenever we're just like concocting in our head. But imagine all the energy that we spend on that, that in the spiritual world, that's all we're just doing that all for Krishna, thinking all the time. It's still enjoyment, but it's for Krishna's enjoyment. So, anyway, I don't know why I got on that point. Yeah, life is it's just such a precarious position, and if we weren't all cuddled up in the, you know, warm embraces of Maya, then like if she didn't cover us over like that and give us this gross and subtle body, we'd be having an existential crisis at every moment. Like if we really understood how precarious this world of becoming and unbecoming, birth and death is, then man, we would be chanting Hare Krishna in so much anxiety, in so much. And I was thinking during my japa today, because it was quite like my thoughts are just racing and I was tired and just, yeah, just spacing out. And I was like, man, remember when I first came to Bhakti and just how I would chant? Because at that point, I mean, I really was having like just so many existential crises, like, not even like, oh, what people, I feel like people use existential crisis like quite loosely, like, oh, what's the point of my life? What career should I do? Like, what's my purpose in that sense? But then, you know, if you watch like motivational YouTube videos or something like that, they're like, I found my purpose, my humanitarian calling, or I joined the army, or this or that or the other. So a lot of times it's proposed like a material solution. Sometimes there's people that, you know, use that and then go into a religion or something like that, which is very nice. That is like the correct or more natural, more fulfilling path to go, taking a spiritual solution to the existential problem. But anyway, I just remember because I was thinking about this yesterday, just yeah, having like this existential crisis and thinking about how close death can actually be. That right before I came to Bhakti, actually since I was really a little kid, I would have crazy just like yeah, essentially like an existential crisis like every day. Like I thought that anytime it rained, I thought that there was going to be like a massive tornado and we are all going to get wiped out, or like every night that a meteor was going to hit the earth, which I mean, in and of itself is kind of dumb just to think that it would happen at night because it's dark out and that's when you could see a meteor. But yeah, and then whenever I got to yeah, that kind of like went away, I guess, in a sense, maybe around the time I like became a preteen. But then I was thinking whenever I was going to temple, I had met devotees, met Gita Govinda that first, what do they call it in, I think in New Zealand it's O week or like freshman welcome week. I'm sure they have that at State College too, like the week before classes when all the freshmen go. And then they, you know, all the clubs are out and sign people up for the Bhakti Yoga Club or whatever. They want to join the Jewish club or the cooking club, the tree planting club. So I met Gita that week, and then from that point on, I mean, I was already like, yeah, probably having prolonged existential crisis, but then after meeting devotees, I remember I would like go to classes and stuff, and I was associating with devotees some, starting to read Bhagavad Gita. I don't even know if I don't even think I was chanting at that point. Um, and then I would go to the yoga classes at temple because they offer them for free. I'm like, yeah, I like to do yoga, nice exercise. But increasingly, I'd like be in the middle of the class and just like everything just started getting really surreal. Like I felt like, yeah, essentially being in the Matrix, like just I felt like everything was like unreal and it was a really terrifying experience. I think there's a psychological term for it, or like I don't think it's disassociating, something like that. But yeah, essentially where I don't maybe Krishna in the heart was like, all right, like you need to take this more seriously, this knowledge that you've already received, but you're just kind of taking it casually. But I was just like freaking out. And that is the position in this world. Like it, like if we really see past the veil of Maya, then or somehow or other Krishna is merciful and gives us like that sneak peek that, you know, all of this in a sense it's not it's unreal in a sense, but it's also real. Like the material world is factual. It's not just a concoction of our imagination. But the idea that we are the controller and enjoyer is a concoction of our imagination and false ego. So, yeah, if we're lucky, then actually we end up in a position where we question everything. And if we're super lucky, then we get to come in contact with devotees that give us the the highest spiritual solution. And yeah, and so then that's what happened. And then I don't know the exact timeline, but then whenever I started chanting, I was like, oh my God, like this is my ticket out of this whole surreal, like semi-false experience. And like, yeah, death could happen at any moment, but if I have japa, if I have chanting, then that offers me some safety and some protection. And I felt it was very like comforting at that time. So I was thinking about that in my japa, and I was like, man, why do I think less like that now, less like death is right around the corner now as a devotee? Like I'm kind of like, man, I kind of wish I still had that. Like I could, a meteor could strike the earth right now. And then chanting with that kind of intensity because we really don't know like what day. I mean, people go just like that. I was telling after last night too, we were driving back from Philadelphia and we were on the road just between like what's it called? Rudders, that gas station and Gita Nagari. And there's this car in front of us and it was like going, it wasn't even swerving. It was literally just like going into the complete other lane. And Y and I were like, oh my God, Vadim, like you gotta slow down so that we're super far back from this car because and we're like speculating, we're like, are they drunk? Are they tired? Are they? And he's like, oh, he's probably got a girl in the car. He's just talking to the, his date or something. I'm like, I don't know. So we just said, let's stay back. And I was remembering in my hometown, there was, people would often go to these like field parties, just literally parties in a field. Um, and a couple maybe right before I came to Krishna consciousness, there was there was this big party and I think that this there were these two brothers, one of them was older and one of them was maybe still in like junior high or like one was a freshman, one was a senior. So the freshman had gone to this field party and gotten super drunk and I think he called his older brother who was a senior and he's like, I need you to come pick me up. Like I can't I need to go somewhere, but like I don't want to walk all the way back home. So but anyway, the freshman boy did start walking back home like along the roadside, pretty much the road like very similar, one can imagine, to the road leading from like to and from Gita Nagari. So kind of like out in the middle of nowhere. And so he's walking back with his girlfriend and maybe some other people too. And, they were drunk, so they're kind of like going into the road and out. And the senior brother is driving, like to go pick up his brother. And he turns a corner and he ends up hitting his younger brother and kills him. And then the other, like, I think the other kids were like injured or something like that. But I was like, man, that's so crazy. Like who, he's like going to do his brother a favor, and that's some really intense karma. But the point being that, yeah, you just like, they went for like a fun night out, but you really never know. And I'm sure everybody has some experience of, yeah, some tragedy happening like that, either with someone close to them or they knew somebody in high school or from their job or something like that. But it's quite shocking whenever it happens to, somebody in high school. And I have so many more examples from even my high school is very tiny, but just some like crazy ways that already people my age have passed away. But I won't get into it now. I told them all the stories last night. And I'm like, geez, this is I mean, it's reality, but it is dark. So anyway, I didn't really mean to go into all that about existential crisis. But the wonderful thing is that we have chanting of the holy name. We've been given this process by our spiritual masters, by Srila Prabhupada, through the disciplic succession coming from Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya's process, on the flip side of all this, is such a joyful process. It's so sweet, so nice. Like yesterday at Ratha Yatra, um, yeah, you could see even people that were not devotees and they're just walking through, like they were just so intrigued and just smiling and they didn't know why, they're just kind of walking through, looking at all the booths, like, oh, what do you do? What do you do? And then, yeah, the day just got sweeter and sweeter with all the kirtans at the end. Even it was raining practically the whole time. Um, but devotees are just so jolly and so happy to see each other. Um, yeah, it was really, really nice. So even in this dim, dark material world, we've been given such an exquisite, exciting, enlivening process and really, oh, sorry, there was something I was going to say before that. Well, anyway, it is an enlivening process and basically are the most important quality that we need to have in order to execute this process is our enthusiasm. Like there's that verse in the Upadeshamrita nectar of instruction, Utsahan Nishchayatir Yat Tatak Karma Pravartanat Sangha something, can't remember the last two lines. But yeah, so enthusiasm, patience, and determination are the first three qualities of favorable for the execution of devotional service. So I was listening to a lecture this morning that which was talking about how, yeah, Prabhupada would comment that this is the most important thing that we should have, and that in all of our services, whatever it might be, like when Prabhupada was asked, like, what's the most important um, service that, you know, I mean, we could think of so many different things, Pujari or GBC or sannyasi or book distribution or cooking or whatever, sweeping the floor. Everybody might have their own opinion, but Prabhupada was making this point that it's to be in love with Krishna. So whatever we're doing, um, that should be our consciousness, which sounds so simple, right? Like, I mean, at least we hear it all the time, but it's a point that I've been meditating on that, oh yeah, I guess I could do something externally that seems super, oh, attention to detail and super nice. But, where is my consciousness while doing that activity? And on the flip side, something can be done very simplistically, but with so much bhakti and so much love for Krishna, um, that it's just exquisite. Like I was thinking about a few devotees that make really like they eat quite simply. They're older devotees, and there's one in particular in LA. What's her name? Shama Priya. Yeah, and she came to visit. She came to stay in the ladies' ashram with us in New Zealand. Super sweet devotee. And she, yeah, just eats very simply. Like she grew in LA, she grows food in her own garden and everything like that. So she was making us quite light prasadam. So, the ladies ashram, man, we would cook up like feasts for lunch. I mean, probably for multiple different reasons, but because there's such an emphasis on cooking there as well. So it's nice to do it, and it's just a nice loving exchange that we like to do for each other. Like, I mean, make like desserts and gluten free and sugar free and this free, and but it's like super elaborate. And so anyway, she would cook some days and make like salads or steamed broccoli or something, quinoa without like seasoning, something like that. And externally, it's like, oh man, I mean, I liked it, but for some other people, it might be like, this is kind of like austere compared to what we usually have. But you would eat it like steamed broccoli or not even cooked anything. Like she just made a salad and it was like the best thing like I had ever tasted. I mean, you could taste her bhakti in the prasadam. So, externally it might not look as opulent and flashy or like that, but just the consciousness that went into it was so pure. And I mean, even if the devotee doesn't have, maybe something's troubling them or their mind's on something else in that particular day, but just the accumulation of their years of sacrifice and bhakti and devotion, you can just really taste it in the prasadam. And I've been noticing that more and more with devotees that do make, I often say, I'm like, devotee's like, wow, your prasadam, Dita Palika. And I'm like, I just am really trying to like overcompensate for the lack of bhakti, like make it super elaborate. And then I'm like, devotee will notice that there's maybe it's not much love in it. Um, but yeah, some devotees, they could just cook so simple and it's so nice. And that could apply to um, yeah, different services too. Like somebody could distribute 50 books and all they're thinking about the whole time, like myself, is how much appreciation, how much recognition am I gonna get for this? Like I feel so good. I have such like an ego rush right now, or like the dopamine hit from just somebody giving me money. And then another devotee can distribute 3, 2, 1, 0 books, same day, same place, maybe. Um, but they did it with so much love that that offering is so tasty to Krishna. So yeah, and we just can't judge externally, can't judge devotees, because there's a whole inner reality going on. So yeah, the spiritual master wants us to be eager to chant the holy names of Krishna. And I was thinking, like, okay, well, what would help us to become eager to chant? And one thing is, okay, let's take the negative side, which is like, oh my God, I want to get out of this material world, which that motivation, it's one of the four motivations that Krishna explains, distress in Bhagavad Gita for coming to him. But eventually, yeah, you can't just rest on your laurels or rest on that rather, um, that motivation to sustain you for decades in bhakti or even more than a couple of years. So then we have to develop positive attraction. And I was thinking a really great book or series of books to help us develop this enthusiasm to chant is Chaitanya Charitamrita or any pastimes of Lord Chaitanya because they're just so happy the whole time. I mean, not the whole time. Like obviously there's quite a wide range of emotions that we can't even conceive of or like have a name for. Like even in well, I guess that's in Bengali, but like in what book is that Prabhupada explains in the introduction, like about rasa is like roughly translated to English as mellow, but there's really no like English equivalent. So there's words in Sanskrit and probably Bengali too that for emotions or experiences that we don't even have words for in English. But anyway, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, ultimately, whatever emotions they're feeling in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it ultimately culminates or is the you know center point is the chanting of the holy name. So yeah, there's this one really sweet bhajan that I like. I heard at the New York the Brooklyn temple for the first time. I think, oh, it would have been on Gaur Purnima. I think when we got initiated, me, Jiva Pandit, and Nagarajni. And I just wanted to read the translation. So it's all different names of Lord Chaitanya. And it's by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And I've just really been relishing reading the translation of it. Like, yes, singing it, and then the translation just is becoming sweeter and sweeter every time I read it. So it's the translation is, if you want to be rid of the influence of the dog-like personality of Kali, then just sing the glories of the beautiful son of Mother Sachi, Sachi Nandana. He is the savior of the Kali Yuga Pavana, and he is Kali Bhai Nasana, the destroyer of all fear caused by the age of quarrel. He maddens Sri Gadadhar with his name, Gadadhara Madana. He is the treasure of the life of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Nitayar Pranadhana, and he is the most worshipable object of Sri Advaita Acharya, Advaitar Prabhujita. He is affectionately named Nimai by his mother due to being born under a neem tree, and he has been named Vishvambar by his grandfather. He is the only Lord of Sri Srivas, Srinivas Ishvar, and he steals the hearts of all the assembled devotees, Bhakta Sumuda Chittachora. Lord Chaitanya is the moon over Nadia, Nadia Sasadhar, the Lord of Sri Mayapur Dham, Mayapur Ishvar, and the divine propagator of his own name, Nama Pravartanasura. He is the instructor of family men, Grihijana Shikshaka, and he is also the hero of those who are in the renounced order, Nyasi Kula Nayaka. He is the husband of the goddess of fortune, Madhava, and he is overflowing with the ecstatic moods and sentiments of Srimati Radharani, Radha Bhavapura. Lord Chaitanya is the corrector and purifier of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Sarvabhauma Shodhana, and the deliverer of King Prataparudra, Gajapati Tarana, the source of nourishment of Srila Ramananda Roy, Ramananda Poshana, and he is a great hero, Vira. He increases the ecstasy of Srila Rupa Goswami, Rupananda Vardhana. He is the maintainer and protector of Srila Sanatana Goswami, Sanatana Palana. He gladdens Haridas Thakur, Haridas Amodhana, and he is very grave, Tira. Is everybody still with me? One last one. Lord Chaitanya is the source of all the transcendental mellows of Rajatam, Rajarasa Bhavana. He is the destroyer of all mischievous and wicked mentality, Dushtamata Satana, and he dissolves the mundane lust of the deceitful, insincere souls by his causeless mercy, Kapati Vikatana Kama. He maintains and protects his pure Vaishnava devotees, Shuddha Bhakta Palana, and he chastises dry speculative knowledge, Shuksha Jnana Tadana. He destroys pretentious and hypocritical devotion, Chala Bhakti Dushna, and he is the reservoir of pleasure, Rama. So I really like this bhajan, I mean, for a number of reasons, and one of them is just that it reminds me that we can go to Krishna, or more specifically in this case, Lord Chaitanya, really for anything. Like he accomplishes so many tasks all at once, just by his personality. That's just, his nature. So whatever we're needing at the time can be fulfilled by Krishna, and our hearts can be filled by Krishna, by Lord Chaitanya. Yeah, regardless of if we feel we have a mischievous and wicked mentality, he's the destroyer of all mischievous and wicked mentality. If we feel that we're overcome by mundane lust, he dissolves the mundane lust of all the deceitful, insincere souls by his causeless mercy. If we feel like we need protection, he maintains and protects his pure Vaishnava devotees, Shuddha Bhakta Palana. If we are overcome by dry speculative knowledge, he chastises dry speculative knowledge. If we want to be rid of pretentious and hypocritical devotion, or we want to come in contact with the reservoir of pleasure, or so many other things. And then, of course, all the names of Lord Chaitanya, son of Mother Sachi, and maddening Sri Gadadhar with his name, treasure of the life of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. He's the destroyer of all fear caused by the age of quarrel. so many things I mean, so many of our experiences, right, of distress in this world actually, this bhajan is proving like we can go directly to Lord Chaitanya and it's all covered here. Like all these names are covering pretty much anything that could be bothering us. Or on the positive side, anything that we want to experience, like the sweetness of these relationships. If we're looking for that sweetness in certain relationships in the material world. Yeah, each one of these is talking about Lord Chaitanya in the context of um, his friendship with devotees, in the context of his being the son of Mother Sachi, um, in an Ishvar position, that he's the Lord of Mayapur Dham, he's the savior. So whatever relationship really you want to have or meditate on, that maybe we're thinking in the plan making factory of the mind, oh, that would be so nice if I had this kind of relationship or that kind of relationship, and just kind of fantasizing about, we can go directly to Lord Chaitanya. So yeah, that's why I like this bhajan in particular. Or I didn't realize why I liked it at first, but the more I've been trying to chant it, the more that has dawned on me. So anyway, I wanted to go into the pastime of Daksha and Narada Muni. Maybe next time I will. It's such a rich pastime. And David Maritza Maharaj I can't remember if it's like just the Easter festival or the end of year retreat, but he gave, well, some of you probably listened to them, but a series of lectures based on this chapter. Or yeah, sorry, maybe it's the next chapter, where Narada Muni's cursed by Daksha, and just like all the intricacies and emotions that Prabhupada puts into his purports in that chapter and the following chapter, 5, that, you know, well, many of you probably know the pastime, but essentially, the first batch of Daksha's sons. So Daksha is trying to create progeny, and Daksha means expert. He's expert in creating progeny. So he's been tasked with that, and he has the first, well, actually, doesn't it say in a purport, the next purport, it says that all the prajas were born from Daksha's daughters. So it says the sons of Daksha, but maybe they're technically his grandsons, unless I'm like conflating the two things. Regardless, they're his progeny. So the first batch of boys, men, the Haryashvas, he sends them off to do austerities, but with the thought that they'll be better in creating progeny, not so that they can become renounced. Then Narada Muni comes along and he's like, oh, I see you have this inclination. How about you guys just all become sannyasis and don't create progeny? So Daksha's pretty fried the first time that Narada Muni does that. And then the second time, the second batch of male progeny, I forget what they're called, Shayakas or something like that. Narada Muni does it again. Is like, I see you have this propensity for austerity and renunciation, and encourages them to take up the renounced order of life. And then Daksha's really upset and just curses Narada Muni, calling him a sadhu, like you are fake sadhu. He's Papa. He's like the leader of uh, all sinful men, and he's essentially saying like you're taking up the dress and externals of a sadhu, but actually he's like, much as like, but I'm the real sadhu. And then goes on to say like how his boys haven't resolved their debt to the forefathers, to the saintly persons and the demigods, and that they have to do that in order to be liberated from this material world. And Daksha's making the case that one has to pass through family life in order to get to the renounced order of life, in order to attain liberation so that they can be free from the desires. But Narada Muni is making the point, and Prabhupada also makes the point in the purports that that's not necessarily the case, that they don't have to, as Daksha's saying, but you have to enjoy to the fullest extent to be able to let go of that very thing. So that's Daksha's mentality. not necessarily true. Although, of course, there's also, we don't just have to all become brahmacharis, brahmacharinis, or sannyasis or whatever. Like the Grihastha ashram is obviously a very necessary and bona fide ashram. It's just that Daksha's mentality is, I don't know. Prabhupada, I don't know if Prabhupada says Grihamedi in those purports, so I'm kind of reluctant to say that if that's like offensive to him. But yeah, I mean, he's essentially saying that they have to enjoy in order to be able to let it go. But Prabhupada in those purports really reveals his heart that his experience has been very similar to the experience of Narada Muni's. Prabhupada's experience has been very similar to the experience of Narada Muni's in that he's encouraging all these young men and young women. Oh, he does make this point, encouraging all these young men and young women to become renounced. And Prabhupada makes a point, even in the Grihastha ashram, he says that multiple times in one purport, like being renounced and in the Grihastha ashram. So it's not that they're like mutually exclusive things. I guess kind of in devotee language, like, yeah, it would usually seem like maybe those are two separate things. But Prabhupada was saying, the parents of many of his disciples, they curse Prabhupada that, even if the disciples are married or whatever, like how, it's a long list of no's. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. So how will my children have any positive life? And then in later purports, Prabhupada goes on to explain that, just like Narada Muni was cursed by Daksha to have to never be able to stay in one place and travel all over. Similarly, Prabhupada is cursed in that way. And yeah, just to keep traveling, keep preaching, which is such a benediction for us. Um, so anyway, I'll just stop there. There's just a couple of minutes left. First, anybody have any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You have a wonderful smile. It's enlivening to see. You look like someone who is very happy in Krishna consciousness. I want to thank you for an enlivening class full of the whirlwind tour of many aspects of Krishna consciousness. A lot of fun. And I have a question. And I hope this doesn't put you on the spot, but this question has been plaguing me for a long time, and I'm just going to run it past you and see how you respond. In the text 17, it is stated, in the womb of that girl, the Prachetas all begot a son named Daksha. And I'm trying to understand, how does that work? I think you know what I mean. There are 10 Prachetas and one girl, and they produced one child. So what is this verse saying? How does that work?
Oh man, I am not great with technical kind of details like that, although I would be happy to research it and look into it and see if I can find anything. All begot in the womb of that girl, the Prachetas all begot a son. Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to speculate, to be honest. Do you have any thoughts or anything that like comes to mind for you? But I am happy to try to find an answer to that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I haven't come across an answer to that in more than 50 years of reading Srila Prabhupada's books. I still haven't found an answer to that. And I just thought, maybe someone might have some insight, but I have no idea how that works. You mentioned how, sometimes some of the narrations in Srimad Bhagavatam seem very fantastic and like the stuff of mythology. I don't have a problem with any of it. It's all perfectly conceivable to me, but I just sometimes I wonder how it actually works. And this is something that's just puzzling to me, but it's really not. It's not important, really. It's not an issue that is somehow pivotal to our understanding of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, but it's just a curiosity for me that's been eating me alive for a long time. So you have no idea, I have no idea. Maybe one day we'll stumble onto it, but thanks again for your class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. Bhagavan, do you have something? 60 seconds. Okay, Madhavan and I are both going to think about this. Okay, that Khan, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Вышел в поле с конями. Hare Krishna. The Lord has speak about spiritual masters, only which we can bring pure devotional service and bow down to His lotus feet in great awe. By His grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and attain the mercies of Krishna, when holding consciously purified by the works emanating from His lotus. Attachment to the lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills the whole desire. He opens my God for honor, my heart transcends the world. He is my Lord, birth from birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates, by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures in his character, how spiritual knowledge. Praying the poor Lord and Master of all devotees, so masterful, merciful, and blessed, who is a shade of your Lord's feet. Your fame spread of all 3 worlds. His divine grace is to Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Good morning.